We're actually live right now. We could start talking, but then I'm gonna bust the intro first anyway. Let me make sure the shit works.
Bust it, bust it, bust it.
Such a great song.
Yeah, except now that stuff comes up on my TikTok, and then the lady looks over at me like I'm watching some girl drop it down. Really, it's like a home improvement project.
Never open TikTok in public, bro. Rule number 1.
Bro, it's not in public. It's on my own couch. She'll hear that. It'll be like literally the amount of fantasy people I follow on there. They'll be like, my top 5 running backs. Bust it. And over there, you've seen like Christian McCaffrey and stuff. My woman's looking at me like, who are you looking at?
So, Cody, this is a great intro, by the way. This is a great intro, by the way.
Look, we only bring the heat. Only bring the heat.
So we're not talking about busted TikToks. Yo, for the
I'm an old man on TikTok.
Yeah, for the people just joining, we're going to get into this mock very shortly. We're about 2 minutes away from we launch the draft, but man, what an intro, Cody. I could not believe it. So I'm just going to drop the intro right now. What up? It's Mr. Real Deal Fantasy HQ with my boy Cody joining me for this first 2021 fantasy football mock draft. This is going to be amazing, man, because I really have some questions about, the first 4 to 5 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for this because I know how I see guys, right? Like I've been doing my research, right? And I've been, seeing whatever everybody's projecting and that kind of thing. I'm excited to see what the people think, right? Because this is a people's mock draft. We are for the people, by the people, for the people. I'm about to see what everybody's doing, where everybody else's mind's at, so I can, absolutely dominate this mock draft. I'm excited, man.
Hell yeah, man, because I legit have questions in the middle of the draft, and I feel like every year I go into mock drafts and then I go into my real draft, and it's like I have questions in the middle of that draft, and it makes me mad because it's like I'm at the 1-6 spot right now. I purposely put myself there to try to test to see who falls to me there. And honestly, the first guy that comes to mind, and hopefully I think, man, Saquon Barkley, can he fall to me at 1-6? I don't know.
Man, if you would have said that last year, people would have laughed you out of the room. 1-6, you think Saquon's going to fall to you? And here we are. I mean,
here we are. And it's amazing because it's bearing his injury. That's all it is, man. But yeah, hey, 7 o'clock on the dot. Let's start the draft. Chris, Mr. Detroit bestie, I know you were watching, man. You are on the clock. Send it.
Shout out, Chris. He just gave me a Twitter follow today. I appreciate him.
Nice.
Very cool dude. Very cool dude. Active on Clubhouse.
Awesome, dude. I love his takes. I love his energy when we do, live streams. He is one of the guys that followed me from Facebook, and we just been connected ever since. So shout out to you.
Love it. Yeah. So to give the people some background on this mock, we're doing 5 rounds. Right, we're doing super flex, so we're going to see a lot of quarterbacks going early, much earlier than what you would see in a, if you don't do a super flex like a standard, 12-team PPR. Yeah. So we're going to see a lot of quarterbacks early. I'm excited to see where some of the young guys go. The guys who don't have some teams yet, maybe a little Trevor Lawrence action, maybe a little Trey Lance. We'll see. Mm-hmm. So Detroit leading us off with the super flex 1-1. This is not a surprise to me. LQ, what do you think of the pick?
Patty Mahomes, man. You can't go wrong here. This is a safe 101 pick right here, especially in Superflex, because you gotta get a stud that's going to give you more, like 25 points, 25 to 30 points a week. So this will be an obvious choice here.
Yep. And while I like a lot of the quarterbacks on the board, I don't think that they have necessarily the same gas that Patrick Mahomes has. I think there are a lot of question marks around some quarterbacks. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get a guy and this is something that I'm not used to being at the front of a super flex. So I'm going to go and I'm going to take, in my opinion, the best non-quarterback on the board and see if we can wait and find some value on quarterbacks later in this draft. I'm getting Christian McCaffrey. He's my 1.0. He's my 101 in standard leagues. We'll get him at the 1.2 here in this mock. What do you think? Do you think that if they go from Teddy Bridgewater to another quarterback that it's going to affect him at all? Like, what are we thinking here?
Nah, I feel like regardless at this point, it doesn't matter who CMC is catching the ball from or getting it hand off to, you know what I mean? Because Teddy Bridgewater coming in when the 3 games that CMC played, he put up elite numbers. So it was kind of like, it doesn't matter who's back there. That offense is going to move through CMC regardless. You know what I mean? So I'm really not too worried about who else they bring in. I mean, they're talking about Watson for CMC in a package deal some way. Just rumors, but I really think that would be retarded because they just signed David Johnson to a 1 year. So it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think the Panthers are certainly play for Deshaun Watson, but I don't think Christian McCaffrey will be involved there. L Cubes with an interesting selection, right? So Derrick Henry at the 1.3, and then followed by Pondo with the quick Dalvin Cook with the
Pondo's back, my boy Pondo.
I love Pondo, man. I love Pondo. He's an awesome Twitter follow too.
There it is.
Oh, he got sniped. Sniped.
You see how
Barkley right out. Bro, you shouldn't have talked about it before the show.
I did say that, didn't I?
Bro, he was listening in. He was listening in before the live.
I mean, I gotta go tomorrow. You got to at this point. It only makes sense.
I think we're going to see this a lot in fantasy drafts this year. Some semblance of these first and standard or super flex, right? A lot of these running backs are going to be taken early. I think we kind of hit that elite tier. I think the tier kind of splits between Kamara and Chubb, just because Chubb is going to have to, split touches with Kareem Hunt a little bit. Chubb is a phenomenal talent, still an RB1. But yeah, I think that's kind of where it cuts off. And I'm surprised we haven't seen more quarterbacks. I know the super flex and sleeper rankings don't have it's just kind of a standard league right now. As far as what it's showing. So I'm surprised more quarterbacks aren't going, but these running backs, I mean, you got to get a good one, right? You got to get a good one.
You have to, how thin it is. Definitely. Because at this point now, like, we're going to see a lot of quarterbacks go probably now and all the way until the back end of the draft right now, just because you just said that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think the quarterbacks the running backs that have been taken are the high rollers with very few question marks, right? So Christian McCaffrey, like, yes, can he come back healthy, but it's not like he's coming off like some sort of devastating knee injury, right?
Yeah.
Derrick Henry's Derrick Henry. Like, what do you could not ask for a more consistent player in fantasy over the last 3 years. Dalvin Cook was incredible last year, right? So Saquon Barkley is the biggest question mark on this list in my mind. Coming off an ACL tear. And for anybody listening who follows Steffi Smalls on Twitter, you will know how passionate she is about the Giants and Saquon Barkley. I think that he will bounce back. He got injured very early. It's not like he tore his ACL late. And I think he's going to – I think he's really going to make an impact this year and come back strong, especially in an offense that isn't crippled by Eli Manning. So we got Kamara. Kamara's another question mark with Drew. We'll see if Drew Brees comes back. I don't know. That's it. You think Drew Brees is going to play?
I don't know. I really don't want him to. I kind of want them to move on and find another quarterback to come in, but their cap situation is hell, man. They're dead last when it comes to that.
Dude. Yeah, so, it's crazy the cuts that were, and like we've already started to see it, and I think it's only going to get wilder from like a veterans being cut perspective, because like the Saints already let go of Jared Cook, right? So I guess Adam Troutman's their guy. We're seeing like Kyle Rudolph was let go. Tyrell Williams was let go and then signed by the Lions, right? We have Golden Tate who was let go. So there's a lot of these veterans that are going to be on the move. And I think it's really, that's one thing about drafting this early is not only are where some of the big names are going to go, right? Because everybody's looking and waiting on Aaron Jones and Chris Godwin, right? And the big name, your top end talents. But the other thing that you have to consider is if a guy like you know, so Tyrell Williams, right? If a guy like Tyrell Williams comes in, like, is that going to eat into Kenny Galladay's targets? If Kenny Galladay comes back to the Lions, like, what does that leave for Quintez Cephas? Like, so we're really going to find a lot in the cuts in next couple of days, as far as value and everything. But Jonathan Taylor going next. How do you feel about that Colts offense with Carson Wentz?
I feel like now it's a full send for Jonathan Taylor. I think patience was key, last season, not giving up on Jonathan Taylor, because it wasn't Jonathan Taylor himself. It was Frank Wright not full sending him. So I feel like this season with Wentz there, it really helps. It gives the offense a bump for the simple fact now, maybe they can get MVP Wentz year back, or he has a better O-line now. Maybe he can create something. But the wide receiver position also brings me in question what they're going to do. Are they going to bring T.Y. Hilton back? Are they going to come and bring in like a big name, stud wide receiver? Kenny G's floating around a lot, maybe Allen Robinson, like all these questions that we have. And I really don't think that, Jonathan Taylor has anything to worry about with Wentz there as well. Or even Hines, backing him up, taking the targets out of the backfield, because Jonathan Taylor is not really, a pass catching back, and Hines has that lane. But who's to say that, Jonathan Taylor can't catch, 30 balls this season? I'm actually okay with that.
Yeah. And I think Jonathan Taylor I think he absolutely has the ceiling to finish as a top 5 back, right? He is in a position in an offense that should score points in a system that likes to run the ball. William Spencer out here saying Carson Wentz top 10. And I don't hate it. I don't hate it. We'll see where he goes. We have a couple more picks here that have come in. Devonte Adams, the first wide receiver off the board. I think he's my wide receiver 1. Right?
Hands down.
He's coming back with Aaron Rodgers. I hope, honestly, for Devonte Adams' sake, I do hope they add another weapon on offense in the first round, right? If they can add another wide receiver late, I think that'll help. That'll help because that man was seeing all sorts of coverages his way. Then we got Kyler. Who's your quarterback 2?
This one was hard. It was between Kyler and Josh Allen, but man, I definitely like them both. Like, I can see, Kyler finishing QB2, or I can, see Josh Allen repeating, having a great year as well. But again, both of them, mid-season, they both had, 2 to 3 games where we're like, yo, they're under 20 points. What's going on? You know what I mean? But I definitely like the rushing ability if we're going to lean towards more Murray. If you're going to be in a league that gives you bonuses, for, 10 plus yards rushing or whatever the case may be. I was in a league last year with that, which was pretty dope, having a mobile quarterback, because mobile quarterbacks win you championships, to be honest now. But I got to go with Murray.
I love that. I love that. If you look at the article that I wrote last year, and we'll probably be repeating this year, keep it forward because it's coming. Mobile quarterbacks are the new standard, right? They are. They are what sets you apart in fantasy. And if you look at the top quarterbacks the last handful of years, right? Patrick Mahomes can move. Lamar Jackson, what he can do with the ball in his hands. Kyler Murray can move. Josh Allen can move. And even the guys on the less mobile end of the spectrum are still able to get some points with their legs. Like Aaron Rodgers, is liable to sneak a couple in. And I am pissed that we talked about him because they just sniped Josh Allen right from behind you. LQ.
Man, oh man, that's the worst thing about going live, because man,
you talk about something and they're like, and they're talking about me. Yeah, so I love it.
A very weird decision here, and these guys, they're both question marks if they play, where they're going. But I'm going to take the safer route here, and I'm going to explain why. So I think Dak is actually he's going to return as a Cowboy. I really think they figure out a deal. They find the cap space to pay him the money he wants. Maybe he gets under $30 million, and we'll have to settle for that. I'm not believing the reports, that he wants Patrick Mahomes deals. But I think he returns back to Cowboy Nation. And I was going to take Watson, but I think Watson's he's digging his heels in the ground saying, I am not playing for Houston next year. So that's a possibility that he actually sits out.
Yeah, I think there's a very legitimate chance that Deshaun Watson will miss games next year if he remains a Texan. That being said, I love the Prescott pick. If he is healthy, which I think he will be, Dak Prescott is a top 5 quarterback. He is a top 5 quarterback. The man is incredible with the rushing touchdowns, like an offense that you could not ask for more weapons. If they bring Michael Gallup is still there, right? CeeDee Lamb, you saw what he was able to do with Andy Dalton, right? And a guy that played in the XFL, right? He's incredible. Amari Cooper, right? Like if they, like, the tight end can stay healthy and that offensive line can come back, like you can't ask for more weapons. Now there is a player that I am very specifically going to ask you about because I know you are a fan of the team, right? Cam Akers. Where do you have him slotted at the back end of these RB1s?
Yeah, I got him low in RB1 in redraft PPR. I got him, probably I say like the early 3rd round, back in 2nd round, to be honest. But the thing is, oh man, you have to grab Darrell Henderson, man. You have to grab him as a handcuff. It's going to be very important if you're going to invest that high on Cam Akers, because we saw both of them deal with injury, even seen Malcolm Brown deal with injury, even though he's out of the way. But those two, I really think it's going to be, it's really something that we got to watch. It might be a 1A, 1B situation here, but it might be a 60-40 split or maybe a 70-30 split. But either way, Henderson's definitely still going to be involved.
Yeah, I think he's too talented not to be. And that, say what you want about Sean McVay, he is going to utilize his weapons, right? Like that is an offense that is built to score points, right? They went out and they got Matt Stafford, they got their guy, and that is like, they're going to score, they're going to push, but they're going to get the ball into the hands of their playmakers. That's what Sean McVay does best. So while I see Cam Akers as the most dominant back in that backfield, I do think there is some value in those other guys. And we haven't seen a bunch of receivers go, right? That only 4 off the board. We had a little bit of a drought there, and then DK Metcalf was taken. Man, if I can grab this guy at the back end of round 2 in a super flex, I'm going to do it all year long. In my opinion, this guy can finish as a wide receiver 1, right? Yeah. The guy opposite him can absolutely make plays. But DK Metcalf is great. I'm going to take his teammate from Ole Miss.
Oh,
I'm going to take AJ Brown. I'm going to take AJ Brown. From a dynasty perspective, right?
Yeah.
DK, AJ Brown, Justin Jefferson, those guys are elite. Justin Detroit. Man, he's just he won't even let me speak. The dude won't even let me talk about my guys.
Oh, but he took Swift. I love that pick.
That's
a good spot for Swift. I'm glad I didn't see him go in the 2nd round. I'm glad I didn't see him go in the 1st round, honestly, with these hype trains that are building slowly but surely. But man, he's a sniper. I definitely knew you were trying to stack that Justin Jefferson and AJ Brown. That wasn't happening, my friend. That wasn't happening.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I was trying to stack
for the people that are wondering why they don't see tight ends, man, I was drunk and I didn't put the tight end position there. So this is a super flex without tight ends. But we all know Travis Kelce would have sprinkled somewhere in the mid, 1st round, 2nd round. So leave that alone.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about something that I've seen discussed kind of in the fantasy world is how do you do tight end premium, right? And even though tight end premium leagues, you see a lot of tight ends go first. Every league is tight end premium. And here's what I mean by that. The difference between the top 3 guys who in my mind are Travis Kelce at 1, who's in a tier of his own. And then you have George Kittle and Darren Waller, right? Those guys are so much exponentially better than even the tight end 6 and 7. So I find tremendous value in them. That being said, I'm going to go, I don't know where he's going, but I trust that he is either going to be an offense that is going to feed him or he's going to be in the same offense that he was in last year. And I'm going to go with Aaron Jones. Ooh. I think that he is. I think that while I hope personally that he ends up a Packer still, even if they have to franchise him, I do think he is that valuable. And there aren't a lot of running backs who have his size because he's built like a bigger back, but he has great hands, right? And Roger has shown the propensity to throw the ball in the red zone. So I really like his value. I think if he goes somewhere like Miami, I think they are going to feed him, especially if Miami sticks with Tua. I think they're going to be a run the clock, keep the score low, play good defense, win the ball game that way. But man, there are just some guys coming at the back of the turn here from 2 to 3 that have such high upside, man.
Yeah, they
high
do.
Upside.
I really see, like, oh my God. But my only question to backtrack real quick is the DK Metcalf. How true are these rumors with Wilson, man? I don't know. If he leaves, I don't know if DK is as high as we think he is right now.
So do I think Wilson is going to be traded? No. Right. I don't think that he is going to be traded. Is that chance greater than 0? Yes. And here's what I mean by that. Every year, right, we have some sort of fluff bullshit piece about somebody lost the coach lost the locker room, the coach isn't respected, the franchise, this guy and this guy aren't, you see with Big Ben just about every year. He's like, him and this wide receiver have some beef that he's like, but a lot of it isn't like, it's either hearsay or people just kind of like take things out of context.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson went on the Dan Patrick show and outright said, I need help on the offensive line. Get me help or I'm gone.
Screaming for help.
Yeah. And like, you can't just ignore that. You can't ignore that. Okay. So you select Josh Jacobs, Gorsey in the Superflex. I love that Wilson Rogers stack. And Justin Herbert is a phenomenal. Okay.
There it is.
LQ.
It might be game over.
Oh my God, man. I love that super flex stack with Taylor, Allen, and Herbert.
You know what? I'm going to tweet that. That might be the best stack, going into 2021 right there.
God. The fact that he got Josh Allen in the second. I've seen Josh Allen go in first round of every super flex I've been in. Oh
yeah, I thought that's who you were going to take too. That would have been my second option that I thought you were to take.
Bro, I was either going to take Justin Herbert or Aaron Jones at that 3-2, and I'm kind of regretting not taking Justin Herbert. But
hey, it's mock draft 1.0, and we're saying it's still early, bro. We got plenty of time. Plenty of time to make up for our mistakes. I'm
just glad we're kind of getting an idea of where these players are going to fall within their position, right? So when you look, you see so Justin Herbert is going as the back end of a quarterback 1. And the reason why I am so high on Justin Herbert is the ceiling is so high, man.
Yep.
It is so high for him. Like the opportunity that he's going to have with the weapons that he has in LA. I hope they go out and get him a lineman. I think there are a lot of I think there are a lot of linemen that could help, especially some of the ones that are going to be coming in free agency. If Gabe Jackson or Joe Thuney it can make their way out in LA to give Justin Herbert some time, because that offensive line was pretty bad last year. I would put it almost down there with Cincinnati's. Man, Herbert has all the tools. And when you talk about those mobile quarterbacks, Justin Herbert's right there.
It is. And I love to watch this kid play because I watched the Hard Knocks, the HBO series before the season, and I saw that killer instinct in him, and he just showed up and showed out, man. And it's amazing he did it without a preseason, without a rookie minicamp, without all these opportunities that you get before COVID. But man, oh man, he stepped up. I really think even if Tyrod was healthy, that change, that tide was going to happen quicker than we all assumed, because there was no way, I really thought about Tyrod Taylor being the starter, in until like week 7, week 8. I thought it was going to change like basically, week 2, week 3. You know what I mean? Because Chargers are in a division that's very competitive, and I really think for them to make noises, they need to put the best players on the field.
Yep, absolutely. So LQ, in the turn of this round, we've seen 2 rookies go. Najee Harris, Trevor Lawrence. Are these guys that you're actively so we don't know where they're going to play for yet. We know Trevor Lawrence is going to be in Jacksonville, right?
Yeah.
But we don't know where Harris is going to end up.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about these guys just purely based on talent?
Purely based on talent, I think Lawrence has proven why he's going to be, the top guy in the draft this year. And just watching his film, his take, it's like he's already NFL polished. Like he's ready to go, and put Urban Meyer in that mix, and a decent running game, and some wide receivers that can potentially be playmakers. I think you're putting him in a really good position. So in drafts, I've seen him go around here in the 3rd round. I've seen him, be talked about as like one of the best rookie quarterbacks in this draft. So it's obvious, like, him getting taken where he's at right now, and you have to pull that trigger on him. But Najee Harris in the same motion, again, we don't know where he's going to go. It's a little different with running backs because we can see guys go to like a real shitty situation, and then their talent just basically gets drained away. Because honestly, I think the worst thing for Sony Michel watching him as a Bulldog was him going to the Patriots. I didn't like that at all. I really think he should have went somewhere else to where he can actually develop and be better, at the position. Because him going to the Patriots, I knew he was going to die in that depth chart. So that's really unfortunate. Yeah,
it's one of those, when you evaluate rookies, right? And we don't know this until, we get to April and we get to the draft, but you have to evaluate essentially 2 things, right? The player itself, and then the position that they are placed in when they're drafted. And not all positions are created equal, right? Like not all, it's just how it is, right? So it comes into evaluating players and talent. Like you also have to be able to evaluate the position that they're placed in, right? Because they're wide receivers, like Chris Godwin was just drafted before Mike Evans, right? We don't like that could. So I'm glad that those 2 went back to back, right? So we had Godwin and Evans. Where Chris Godwin is drafted, he could be drafted. I wanted Wentz at bro, dude. Oh my god.
There it is, back to back. Man, you had to expect it. But here I took Wentz, being that I hope that he gets that MVP rebirth. It really was between, crazy enough, Hurts or him. So basically, I really think Jalen Hurts is going to be key in super flexes, being that he's a mobile quarterback. But I still have question marks on that offense, being that they got a new head coach or whatever. So in this position, I went with what I know. I know Frank Wright is a good, offensive-minded guy, and I definitely think the O-line is a big upgrade to help Wentz stay on his feet and not force a lot of balls and make stupid decisions. So that right there, that it really goes hand in hand of like what you really look for in super flex leagues with your second quarterback. Because Dak, I feel like he's going to be top 5 if he returns back to the Dallas Cowboys. Because before he got injured, man, he was balling out. Even though they weren't winning games, he was balling out in fantasy. So I definitely think Dak is a good compliment as your QB1. And then Wentz, man, we don't know. We might get MVP 2017, Wentz, but that is a question. But I'm willing to take that gamble because we only got 1 round left. So you got to get that second quarterback, man.
Yep. So I'm probably not going to draft a second quarterback just because of where I'm at right now with mine. But I am going to draft one here. And I think this is a guy that has a lot of upside. He's shown the ability to run, even if he can get tripped up on the yard line. So I love me some Daniel Jones.
Send it.
I think there are a handful of things that the Giants absolutely need to do in free agency this year. And one thing they need to do is they need to address the weapons that they have offensively, whether it is through free agency or the draft. They have very good role players in that offense, but they don't have a true number 1 wide receiver, right? And while I love Slayton, and like I like Shepard. I don't think they're a true number one. So I think they get some weapons there. Man,
look at these.
I'm
picks,
torn
man.
here. Jamar Chase and Javonte Williams, two talented rookies to definitely keep your eye on. As far as landing spot, if Jamar Chase lands in Miami with Tua, him and Devontae Parker could be. Remember when you were so high on Preston Williams? Jamar Chase is better than Preston Williams. I can tell you that right now.
He is.
Okay. So we got a question from the Fantasy Football Hustler in the chat. And he talked about, is it punting the quarterback position smart in a Superflex league in both your opinions? So I'm going to, my thoughts are, when you're picking in a Superflex, I like my quarterbacks to do two different things, right? I like to have one that is able to, it's your set it and forget it guy, right? So I didn't do that in this draft, right? But you did. Dak Prescott is your set it and forget it guy.
Yep.
And then I like to get a guy with a massive upside, right? So for me, I think Daniel Jones has some massive upside. For you, you think Carson Wentz, if he can return to MVP form, I think Wentz has massive upside. So that's how I try to do it that way, right? I don't try to punt. The only way that I will ever punt at a position is if there are two, like I draft best player available, right?
Yeah.
So I am a big fan. Like I don't try to draft for need because I think your team talent figures itself out, right? So I've always tried to draft the best player available. And if there are some just ridiculous wide receivers on the board, then yeah, I'll let my quarterback slip a little bit. But we have some talent. Adam Thielen, your first wide receiver selected.
Yeah.
Man, I think people are going to sleep on him a little bit because Justin Jefferson was so hyped up.
Yeah.
Not like Adam Thielen had a very, very good year last year. And like, there's not much in that. Like not much has changed on the Vikings as far as their team. They lost Kyle Rudolph, but you didn't have a ton of targets. So, and I think Irv Smith fills that role pretty well. But man, I like that pick. I think Adam Thielen is going to be slept on a little bit. Man, LQ, I'm mad because I like your team. I'm upset because I like your team a lot.
The only pick I don't like is Josh Jacobs. I was down to like 12 seconds, so I had to pull the trigger because we were like mid-conversation. But back to Adam Thielen, I feel like they both coexisted last season. And Thielen, I mean, he was killing in the red zone. If Thielen can continue to be the red zone target, I'm all for it. We all love touchdowns and definitely think, Justin Jefferson brings like a deep threat as well, but brings a deep threat to get to 20, get inside the red zone. Kirk Cousins is looking at Adam Thielen. So 8 touchdowns, last season. That's amazing to me, man. So Adam Thielen, that's my wide receiver one here. I'm sitting good.
Yeah, no, I like that. And I think a lot of people get hung up on like some of the analytics. They see targets or whatever. Not all targets are created equal, right? Like, but like Justin Jefferson might have led. I don't know this because I don't have the stats pulled up, right? But he could be like, oh, Adam Thielen wasn't even first on his own team in targets. Okay, so would you rather have whoever was first in targets on the Jets, who was first in targets on the Patriots, right? Like you have to. Not all targets are created equal, and I think that's why Adam Thielen can be of some value. A lot of these guys, same with like running backs, right? Like not all running back touches are created equal, right? Like touches in a Green Bay offense are worth much more than touches in like in a Lions offense, right? And it's not like due to the inherent value of the player, but you also have to be able to evaluate a situation.
Yeah, true. That is nail on the head there. You hit it correctly. But damn, man, I just look at this. Kenny Galladay. I think it was an auto pick by Ty. Man, I said auto pickers will be stoned. But anyway, David Montgomery, I want to touch on him real quick, man. I really think he's still, a useful back. He's serviceable. But Tariq Cohen returning back next year, man, that worries me a lot, man. I really feel like people are going to overvalue David Montgomery based on what he did without Cohen and not actually putting in the equation that Cohen is returning back.
Yeah, I agree and I disagree, right? So if we look at
Mm-hmm.
where Montgomery went, like he went at the back end of RB2s. I don't hate that value. Like I think Montgomery does end up kind of in that range. I don't think that he has nearly as high of a ceiling as some of these other guys, right? So if you look in this range, there are like I would much rather have Miles Sanders than David Montgomery. I would much rather have Antonio Gibson than David Montgomery. Like that, so I think their ceilings are higher. That being said, David Montgomery is a guy who can absolutely be that RB2 on your roster and get you the points that you need every week. I don't think he's going to win you your week outright every week, but he's also not going to lose it, which is value. Like they're valuable. Like there's value in having consistency on your roster, right? You need some of that. So I think he was drafted appropriately. LQ, what's your takeaways here, man? Like the draft wrapped up, right? We have some really solid teams, right? We had some guys go running back heavy. We had some guys go quarterback heavy. What are we seeing here? What is the thing that surprised you?
I'm loving this Saquon Barkley, Dobbins, and James Robinson, stack right here being running back heavy. I mean, going running back is not a bad thing, especially with these stud guys. We have questions about Dobbins. I think obviously J.K. Dobbins is going to be capped out in a lot of PPR leagues, being that, the Ravens just don't check down the ball. They don't throw the ball to the running back. So he's going to have a cap of what he can do, in fantasy and PPR leagues. So there's a question mark there what they would do. But there is talks that the Ravens might change some things up, but who knows? But again, James Robinson, I think he's in a good spot. But, Meyer coming there and putting his players in best positions, and he's actually getting involved, in the passing game as well. So I really think he could finish top 10 again. So I don't hate this, running back stack right here. I actually enjoyed looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, if you like your guys, go out and get them. His only quarterback is Jalen Hurts, right? So there is a little bit of a question mark there. I think if the Eagles bring in another quarterback, I think they are making a big mistake. But like that is something. We're still in March. It might
be Ryan Fitzpatrick or Mariota or something like that. So it's not going to be like a big
there are
name.
a lot of guys around. Like it'll be interesting to see where some of those vets end up.
I will say, if you bring in Jameis Winston, then that's when I start questioning. That's when it's like, he's still capable to, actually win a job. He's still capable to, actually put a run for his money for Hurts. But I definitely think if they bring in a Ryan Fitzpatrick or a Mariota, I think, all the nerves can calm down and kind of understand that's there just to give him, veteran talk and kind of motivate him, especially if they bring in Fitzpatrick. I honestly think they should just go out and bring in Fitzpatrick for, the veteran, to get in his ear and try to motivate him.
Yeah, I like having a veteran guy behind my younger quarterbacks. I think there's a lot of value in that. There's a quarterback that I want the Bengals to sign. He is a free agent this year. In Chase Daniel, who has been a career backup, but he's been behind Drew Brees. He was behind Drew Brees for nearly a decade almost. And then he's been behind Stafford, right? But he's also been behind Mitch Trubisky in Chicago. So I think it's really like, I think there's value in having it. Like we've shown, or it's been more apparent in recent years that having a serviceable backup quarterback who's not only good in the locker room, but also can make plays and win you games on the football field.
Yeah.
It's not a nice to have anymore. It's a must have, right? When Joe Burrow went down last year, the Bengals were terrible to watch, right?
Terrible,
But when you get like the Saints, when Drew Brees went down last year, they had Teddy Bridgewater. They, were able to rattle off wins. The Saints, Drew Brees went down this year. They had to use a mix of Taysom Hill. It wasn't nearly as great, right? So I think backup quarterbacks absolutely have some value. It'll be interesting to see where some of these guys shake up. I'm surprised more tight ends weren't taken, LQ. Like, why I'm gonna chalk it up to a mock draft, right? We just kind of got into the flow of things, right? And you didn't, have a tight end position, so
but you could have used
you out here
position though, whatever. You could have drafted a tight end.
Okay, so if we're LQ, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, and I'm going to ask for a rankings, right? Fill out the rest of your top 5, right? So the top 2 are there, Kelsey and Kittle. What's the rest of your top 5 look like? Those top end tight ends.
Oh man, I'm definitely going Waller at 3. At 4, pending location. This is going to be a bold statement. Pending location. If we see Hunter Henry move on to the Buffalo Bills, that's a full send at number 4 spot, tight end 4 for me. If he stays healthy, obviously.
I like that. I think Hunter Henry's health has been a little bit of a kind of a bad luck, which sucks. Especially for him. You know where I would like to see Hunter Henry? And shout out my man Malik Wright at the Right Report on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Him and I do a show every Wednesday at 8, and we were talking about fantasy or a little more about like the NFL landing spots as a whole rather than like fantasy. But
yeah,
he brought up a spot for Hunter Henry that I thought was really interesting for fantasy. If Henry went to Indianapolis, right? Because Wentz has always had a good tight end, right? He's always had Ertz and he's had Goddard. Man, don't get me wrong, like Hunter Henry to Buffalo would be also a great fit. But man, in Indy, I think Indy is a really interesting spot too.
Look at their system with Jack Doyle. They made Eric Ebron look amazing as well.
Yeah.
Too.
No, they've absolutely been able to have fantasy relevant tight ends when that position's been good and healthy for him. Frank Reich, like he's shown the ability to use him. That would be a cool spot. So who you got at 5? What's your 5th?
5, Mark Andrews, man. He has to solve that spot. I think the NFL and defense has figured out that middle of the field where Andrews is cutting them up. We had that 1 year wonder where it was like exploding. But man, oh man, I definitely think he's still a top 5 tight end, regardless of what's going on in that playbook, if they change it up or not. Because Mark Andrews is a great target, man. He's a big body guy that will box you out and get the ball at the highest point. And I love watching him play. So top 5 for sure.
Yeah, LQ, you know better than anybody, but you got to get your hands and the ball in the hands of your playmakers, right? And Mark Andrews is one of the best playmakers on the Ravens. So I think they will continue to give him the ball, regardless of how, if they change that offense.
They don't plan on bringing in a wide receiver either. The top tier or a top free agent. So it's like, if you guys aren't looking to do that, then obviously Mark Andrews is going to be your number 1 receiving, target. So that's fine with me for fantasy. So keep full sending that.
Yeah. Oh man, it's awesome. It's awesome. So is there anything else you want to talk about this draft, man? Like anything, what you got?
Oh, nah, man. I definitely think Pondo, he's a great drafter, man. He comes here every single year, man, and he pulls one off where he ends up walking away with possibly like the best draft. I mean, if Watson plays, somewhere else, then whatever, he's still a great, quarterback. He's top 3, top 5 or whatever. And I definitely think Gibson, oh my God, I'm like a big Gibson fan. Calvin Ridley, obviously the new wide receiver 1 for Atlanta, regards to the situation. And then Miles Sanders looks good with Jalen Hurts. So we get to see those two, pending Sanders' health, to put on a show. So Pondo, man, you're always like my mock draft, winner here, man.
Yeah, I feel like every mock draft I'm in with Pondo, I feel like I'm talking about his team in a good way. So hats off to you, Pondo. I hate you. Yeah. Right. Quit making me look bad. Making me look bad. Detroit Beastie out here, man. That's a good team too. He must be high on those rookies. He's high on those rookies, but I like it. I think if they land in the right spot, Javonte Williams, I don't think he got a ton he's not going to be like, unless he lands in like just an incredibly great spot. I don't think his name is going to be super common in redraft leagues, but he's absolutely a guy to keep out for. He didn't get a ton of TV coverage at UNC, but man, is he talented. Is he talented. So
I can't wait to see where he lands.
Yep. So what do we got coming up, LQ? What's on the schedule? Right? What's on the docket?
We got a huge interview. I don't want to reveal the name, but next week, you guys better be on the lookout. I'm telling you now, this is a big guest. This is probably one of my favorite guests for the entire series. I don't even know what to call the series, but every Thursday I've been coming with heat, with a new, big time guest.
It's Thursday today.
Oh yeah, Thursday today, man. Check out that new interview. It's up right now with Ryan McDowell. Check it out. He's the dynasty guru, people.
Yes,
But
sir.
next week, I'm really excited for next week, and you're going to be joining me, which is awesome. I definitely got to have you aboard because this is a full send after this happens. So we shall see.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna be very. This is the most honest opinion I've ever gave. Every single thing that we put out is can't miss material, always.
Yeah.
But if you are very legitimately going to tune into anything, next week we are going to have an interview that is dropping. It is going to be awesome. I am super, super, super excited for it. And man, we are going to be continuing to bring you content because March 9th, we have franchise tags. We got free agency opening up in a couple weeks. We have pre-draft coverage, middle of the draft coverage, post-draft coverage. Man, LQ, the football never stops, man. We have an off season, but it ain't off for us. I am excited, dude.
Hell yeah, man. I can't wait to get it done. And next week we'll do another mock draft, mock 2.0. And I'll fix the tight end situation, obviously.
Let's change it up a little bit. Maybe we do like a little redraft.
Straight up redraft. Do 6 rounds, 7 rounds. We'll see. We'll see how that works out. But we'll definitely
bring the gas.
Bring the gas. I bring the fire, boy. Fire content only. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for the guys that are still hanging out, watching now, and looking over these teams. But man, oh man, I'm excited for this fantasy season, man. We're gonna get out of here now, man.
Let's go.
Peace, love, happiness. Wolfpack.